Comment if you're watching in a onesie. Is anybody watching in a onesie right now? That would be really exciting. I feel our connection. I am a fawn slash yearling buck. Look at my little antlers, they're so cute. Welcome to my channel, I'm Dani Walker. Today's episode is a recap of Liva, Miss Diva 2020. If you're new, please subscribe, hit that notifications bell, and follow me on social media at Dani Walker. This is the first time I have ever seen this pageant, so this is all new to me, and I'm gonna walk you through my thought process watching the show. First of all, when the show opened, there was a short video clip, which I loved. It was not too long, and then I saw the hosts come out. The entrance was beautiful, the staging looked fabulous, but then I realized it was 9 minutes from the very beginning until we first saw the contestants. And that reminded me of the Steve Harvey opening monologue at Miss Universe this year, which I thought was a little bit long. So I just figured I would like to see the contestants a little bit sooner in the show. Remember, if you're watching on a mobile device, please screenshot this episode, post it to an Instagram story, and tag me at Dani Walker with your thoughts. I want to know what you think about this show. Who are your favorites, and what do you think about Miss India this year, who's headed to Miss Universe? Then when the contestants finally came out, I was not ready for Swimsuit. I was so surprised. I thought there would be an opening number or introductions, and we went right to Swimsuit. So I was confused because I was watching the girls come out, and I loved that each block of contestants was in the same swimsuit. So it was really easy to sort of remember who came out when, and I thought that was so great. It looked awesome. The little cover-ups that they had reminded me of the ones that we saw at Miss Universe this year, so I wonder if that's where that inspiration came from. I was confused because I saw all of these different walking patterns of the contestants, and I didn't know, were they being judged? Was that what was happening? And then afterwards, the contestants came out one by one, and we got to see them each. So at first I was very concerned because I thought, well, how am I supposed to find contestants that I like? I'm watching on YouTube, and the resolution is not great, so I felt like I was missing a lot of their faces. But then after they did start coming out one by one, it was just gorgeous girl after gorgeous girl, and which really didn't surprise me so much because Miss India placed this year at Miss Universe, and she was so stunning, and in recent years we've just had so many beautiful Miss Indias, and I feel like they've probably just missed that cut in the semifinals. So when I saw so many beautiful contestants this year, I wasn't too surprised by that. I thought that they looked really beautiful, very well put together. The thing that really got me though was the judges' faces. I felt like whenever they would pan to the judges, they were very dead-faced, just like, which I just thought was so funny because when I judge, I usually look like that. I know that I do because I don't want to smile at one contestant that I really love and then not smile at ones that I'm not liking, because I don't want one contestant to know that I am just loving her on stage, or I don't want contestants to feel bad if I'm not smiling at them. So it's harder to sit and just smile the entire pageant, so I just have the harshest face when I judge. So heads up, ladies, if I ever judge a pageant, it's not that I necessarily dislike you, it's that I am just trying to be so fair to everyone, and I don't want to give anything away. So that's the reason that I don't smile when I judge, and I was wondering if that's what these judges were doing too. The other thing that got me was that I didn't feel like the audience was very loud and participating, which is a far cry from, for example, fans in the Philippines. Obviously, they're just so supportive of pageants and they're all about it, but I thought that the crowd was very reserved. Since I didn't know the run of this show and how things go, I took notes on a few contestants. Contestant number one, I just felt that she was so confident when she came out on stage. She just owned it. She didn't doubt herself. She was just exuding confidently beautiful to me right out the gate. I thought number three was beautiful, but I did take a note. I would like to see more posture and more confidence coming from her. So if you watch their two performances, that's the difference between a placement or a crown sometimes. They can both be beautiful or both have great performances, but those subtleties of just pulling yourself up just a little bit taller on stage, it really can communicate more confidence. If you're watching this right now and you're preparing for your next pageant and you need some extra help, please feel free, go check out my website, DaniWalkerOfficial.com. I have some great resources there, and also that's where you can book any coaching appointments that you might need. So check that out. I would love love to work with you. I love hearing from all of you. I love when contestants find me through the channel and tell me they've been watching the channel forever, and then we finally get to work together. So that's always really fun for me. So check that out if you need some extra pageant tips. I loved number 12's hair. I thought it was so beautiful. I just love that styling for her. Number 14, I liked her. I wrote that in my notes, but I thought she walked a little bit fast. Also could be like camera angles or things like that, but I wish she would have slowed down a little more. Number 15, her eyes, oh my gosh, I wasn't surprised to see her in a top 5 because she is very captivating on stage. My question to all of you watching, can these contestants recompete for this pageant because I'm unfamiliar with it, or is that it? Was it just a one shot? Because I could see her coming back and being even stronger. Number 18 was so happy. I thought that she was the perfect example of being present on stage, and she went right through to that top 5. So that's something that you ladies can really learn from, and I thought that was so beautifully done. One great touch of this show is that they acknowledge the designers for swimsuits and for the gowns, and I loved that. Just that little bit of recognition I thought was so classy. Things like that I think motivate sponsors to come back and to work harder, is just to be noticed. Just honestly, a thank you is appreciated. Well done. The performers, oh my gosh, I cannot remember the last time I have seen performances like that at a pageant. It looked like a real concert. I was blown away. Is that the norm at pageants in India? Because that was incredible. There were so many dancers there on stage, and the lighting and the effects. I was in shock. Wow, amazing production value there. Evening gown is my favorite area of competition, and if any of you need help selecting your evening gown, which is something I do as a coach, I do style contestants all the time for their competitions. If you need some more help with that, then you should check out the description below, because I link my free dress guide, and that's the checklist that I use when I go shopping for my personal coaching clients. Check that out, it's a great resource. One other thing I loved in the script was how they described the inspiration behind the gowns. After I heard that description, I was just primed and ready to go. When are these gowns coming out? These sound fabulous. And they were so beautiful on the contestants. The only critique I would have about it was that some of the colors were really dark, and then we saw a lot of dark staging colors. So I think it was harder for some contestants to stand out. And I think that when you're competing, if you look great in a certain color, it can really help you on stage. I felt like some of those contestants weren't able to have that advantage, but they all got to wear really beautiful and dynamic pieces. When I was watching, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is like a real fashion show. They were so fun and so fierce. I just really enjoyed watching. But we didn't get to see the contestants like we did in Swimsuit. So it was really hard for me to pick favorites in gown because I did not get to see those close-ups. I was trying to, but I couldn't make out everybody's numbers on their wrists. So that was tough. So actually the contestants I took a few notes on were just number 1. I said she had great facials, and I loved the neckline of that gown. Just the design looked great on her. Number 15, I just wrote, still love her. Number 8, I had not noticed her earlier really in swim, but when I saw her in gown, she really stuck out to me. And number 14 stood out in white. I thought that was such a great choice on her, and just the style of the gown. She just looked so beautiful. Another note for the judges is that it was strange for me to see the judges talking to one another throughout the show, because normally at pageants that I've judged at, they tell you to not discuss your thoughts with other judges because they don't want one judge to taint the judging pool. I thought it was so interesting to see the judges speaking with one another during the competition. I don't know how contestants feel about that, or is that the norm in India? If you're enjoying this recap, be sure to check out the others. I'll link my most recent one right up here, and I hope that you enjoy that one too. Love that they did a quick announcement of all the special awards that were awarded before the finals night. I thought that it was great that we acknowledged the contestants, but it went really fast, so that was great for the pace of a show so your audience doesn't get bored. One thing that I didn't like though is how they announced the contestants. For example, there's 20 contestants and they started announcing the top 10, and they announced contestant number 1, number 4, number 10, number 11, number 13. It wasn't in random order. For example, if you were contestant number 3 and they announced contestant number 1 is in semifinals and now contestant number 5, you know at that point that you did not make it into a semifinal. It removes some of the excitement and anticipation as you get closer and closer to narrowing down those semifinalists, because pretty much everybody knows who made it and who didn't at the very end. I really prefer announcing in random order. Number 15 reminded me, by the way, I believe her name is Karen. She was a Philippines title holder. She reminded me of her so much. After gown was the opening statement, and this reminded me a lot of Miss International when the contestants get to speak, so I thought that was sort of cool. Here were my main notes. Contestant number 1 caught my attention. I just thought, wow, she was powerful and passionate, and the biggest thing for me with her was that she got my heart. That's just powerful. Hello, makes sense. Advancing straight to that top 5. Then I wrote a note about number 14 because she also pulled at my heartstrings, and what she said reminded me of what Zozabini said during her final word at Miss Universe. So this contestant said, "I want girls out there to look at me and think of the most impossible dream and take that step forward." She was completely inspiring. Even the host said that. I loved that answer. So she was phenomenal. And then number 18, I wrote that she was not as polished with her speaking skills, but she was still very present. So she wasn't sounding very rehearsed, and that's a very likable quality. Then I thought it was really great that they did that 20-year tribute to Laura Dutta. And can I just say how glowing she is, just how charismatic she is. She's goals. She's goals. The way that that woman speaks on stage with such conviction and elegance is how I wish I could speak on stage. Maybe one day. I loved what she said about pageantry and how she addressed that a lot of people say that pageants objectify women, and that she talked about how she never experienced that, but she said it in such an eloquent way, and I loved her. As I was watching her, I realized she doesn't use verbal pauses, which is something I try not to do, but I'm definitely guilty of. I just thought she was so radiant, and all I could think of was, I want to be you when I grow up. They asked contestants for onstage question if you believe religion unites or divides. Number 18 basically said every religion in India promotes unity. It's only the flawed vision of extremists who believe religion divides people. And that's why I believe religions in India stand for unity. She said basically the only people that are talking about it being divisive are the ones who are flawed and who are interpreting things the wrong way. And I have to say I really agree with her on that standpoint. I don't think that most religions in the world serve the purpose of causing terror or being divisive to people. Number 15 was referring to religion and said it's important and it's inside of you and it can be positive, and at the same time we have to respect it. So I thought that the answer could have been a lot stronger, and I think that that's what ultimately affected her placement. Number 14 said we need to remind ourselves of tolerance and to respect each other's religions and values. That was the gist of her answer. Number 2 said she believes that religion is meant to unite, but sometimes today it divides. So she said, let's restore the religion of humanity. Number 1 said it unites people who believe in the same things, and she likes that they celebrate all of their holidays together in India. So she talked about Diwali and Christmas. She said that this is important so we can progress forward towards the future. So I thought that she had a really great and relevant example in her answer. She was solid the entire competition, and I think that's what stood out the most about her for me. She reminded me a lot of how Julia Horta performed last year, because she did just enough for every competition. The way that she was able to use her facial expressions was a very Miss Universe style of competition, and I think that's why they ended up ultimately choosing her to represent India at Universe, was because they saw that quality in her. I thought it was a great choice. If you believe India is a front runner at Miss Universe, comment India down below. I want to hear what your thoughts are on how you think she's going to do this year at the Miss Universe competition. The results were that number 14 was first runner up, and I thought she could have easily gone home with one of the other 2 titles Number 18 was supranational, and number 1 won the Miss Universe title. And it was close. These women were great, solid competitors across the board. I thought that there was not a great disparity between contestants that were really strong and contestants that were really weak. There was a lot of consistency, which often is going to make it harder for judges to choose, and that's when things get down to the nitty-gritty. It gets down to the finer points of a contestant, her communication skills that are going to excel, or is she more fit and is she more suited for one international pageant instead of another. So those are things that I think really come into play when there's a pretty even playing field. And it was tough, guys. It was really tough, and the show was very well done. So I just liked it. I liked the pace of it. I thought that it was so fast moving. The hosts were wonderful. The female host, oh, loved her gown. She just looked fabulous. So classy and elegant. Love it. It was a really, really great show. It was exciting to watch it for the first time. But what did you think? Comment your thoughts below. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, hit the notifications, and follow me on social media. But until next time, thank you so much for watching.